Amazing. A booby trap that actually catches boobies.
I'm coming.
Okay, I don't really know how to start this one off like my other videos, so I'll just get to the point. I love Transformers, as the title of this video suggests, and I want to explain why. I feel like a lot of content on YouTube is made for just being relevant and popular, rather than people talking about stuff they enjoy, so today I'm just gonna ramble about the silly robot franchise I've come to love, how it started, and how it's going. Please like and subscribe so that I know that these kinds of videos aren't dead, and let's start at the beginning. Okay, so I was a kid growing up in the late 2000s, early 2010s, so I grew up with stuff like Prime, Ninjago, and 2012 TMNT. But around that time period, awesome CGI robots were a popular thing to put in theaters. There was Pacific Rim, a fantastically awesome movie that never got a sequel, even though it totally deserved one, and it would have had nothing wrong with it. Real Steel, a decent Rocky-esque movie, but with beautifully designed robots getting torn apart horrifically, which also spawned pretty decent mobile games. Seriously, I highly recommend these. They're still available and still kick ass. Anyways, the one movie that was on top of this trend, at least to my knowledge, was Transformers. Now, Transformers is one of those franchises that's been around for a very long time, all the way back in 1984, but the mainstream popularity was brought back to life thanks to the Michael Bay movies, and later dwindled also thanks to those movies. The movies weren't the only way I learned about the franchise, but we'll get to the rest of it later. I just want to quickly gloss over my thoughts on these. Transformers 2007 has aged beautifully and is still a surprisingly good watch, all things considered, and never feels like it's trying to just be mindless robot fighting, and I still think this is the best Bayverse movie because it feels like it was made with love and effort, and yes, the bots don't show up till halfway through, but if it worked for Pacific Rim, it can work for this. Revenge of the Fallen kinda sucks. I think outside of the forest battle, which goes so hard, and the final fight in Egypt, the movie is just a whole lot of nothing, at least to me. Dark of the Moon is honestly pretty good in the later half and on par with 2007 for its quality in writing and action. The humans are meh, but the parts with Sentinel and his shocking betrayal were really well written, but the lack of any acknowledgement of Ironhide's death still annoys me. The voice acting was top notch, and this got pretty dark in some parts. Originally, I believe Megatron and Optimus would have tag team Sentinel in the end, and the Decepticons would have left Earth to fix Cybertron, but apparently the ending got leaked because of a novel version and got rewritten to just Optimus kills Megatron. It feels so unfinished and rushed, but outside of that, it's an alright movie, and you can tell Michael Bay wanted it to be the end, but because it made $1 billion, he was presumably forced to make 2 more. Age of Extinction is...
Because this is illegal. She's a minor.
We're protected by the Romeo and Juliet laws.
Okay, it's bad. I remember being terrified of Lockdown as a kid because of what he did to Emoji Guy / Fred from Big Hero 6, and while he is a cool villain, he just kinda exists. Most of this movie does. We don't talk about that one part, but at least this movie has a good villain. I can't think of anything redeemable about Last Night. Look, as a kid, seeing the trailers for this gave me the impression that, oh, Optimus is evil and he's going to kill everyone because he's awesome, only for him to have like 20 minutes of screen time. This movie sucks. It's so bloated full of random characters and so forgettable that I don't even remember 90% of this film. Anyways, the overall Bayverse is just a huge mixed bag looking back. By the time of Dark of the Moon, the action just became metal and explosions. And of course, Optimus is kind of unhinged in these movies. I think in the first one he wasn't that psycho, but in Revenge of the Fallen he realized that
You'll never stop at one.
and began fighting as hard and as psycho as he could. In some cases, it was justified, but in others it was a bit much. Like, when he's fighting Grimlock, Drift is like,
No. That's Optimus Prime.
if you do not let me ride you vigorously, I will kill you. But look, I don't hate the Bayverse, nor do I worship it. I think it's just fine. I'm indifferent to it as I've gotten older. It did do bad things for the movie franchise in the end, though. Bumblebee was meant to be a prequel to Bayverse, but got reworked to be like a reboot, but then got treated like it was actually a prequel, despite the many contradictions, thanks to this guy acting like the Bayverse wasn't dead. Anyways, Bumblebee was a good movie with good fan service at the start, but that's about it. We'll come back to the last 2 movies, but let me get to the other part that I grew up with. Transformers Prime. This was essentially my G1, and Rescue Bots was my, I don't know, man, Beast Wars? It was something.
No. Not that.
Anyways, as I was saying, Prime was genuinely incredible for a kid me to watch. I mean, this show got dark a lot, and it was awesome. It's surprising they managed to get out 3 seasons of incredible quality when the stuff behind the scenes tended to get bad. Like, I'm pretty sure some episodes costed $1 million at some point, but this show was amazing. It's not perfect, and I don't really enjoy how Cliffjumper was the only one they ever killed off to show stakes, but I still do love this show. Rescue Bots was out like during the middle of Prime, and it was part of the Alliant continuity at the time, so I was always excited to see Optimus and Bumblebee cross over because I knew they were from the other show I liked at the time. Surprisingly, Rescue Bots isn't that bad for just being aimed at kids. It has arcs, it has lovable characters, it has cool ass designs, and more. I think adults can enjoy this just as much as kids, but anyways, both Prime and Rescue Bots were damn good shows that made me really into the brand as a kid. And then RID 2015 came along and shot that love dead because of how boring it was and how they treated Prime and his characters. Oh, one last thing before we move on. Angry Birds Transformers. That's it. It was peak fiction then, and now, okay, it kind of sucks because we're reading how it's just a nothing game now, but I can appreciate how cool it used to be at least. Now after this, I kind of stopped liking Transformers to the extent I once did. I mean, sure, there were a couple exceptions here and there, but I didn't really keep up with the franchise at all. You'd think that I'd find interest in old fixations when the pandemic was happening, but nope, not at all. That is until one day in 2022 or 2023. You see, Transformers was originally made to just promote the toys that came out, and I didn't really get many as a kid outside of a few Rescue Bots toys and this Viacon figure that is broken apart somewhere, and this Legends class cliff jumper my mom got me after my brothers flushed down a bot shot I had down the toilet. No, that's not a joke. I wish it was. Anyways, the only figures I got were Cybertron Override and this Age of Extinction swoop/strafe toy that isn't very good, but one day, I don't know when specifically, I was in Target when my parents were buying me something that I could choose, and instead of getting Legos like I typically did, I saw an SS-86 Ironhide at the corner of the aisle, watching, waiting, practically begging me to pick him up. I knew of toy collecting, I just never got into it, but I figured now would be as good as time as any to try it. This is how it happened. This is how my wallet died. Ironhide will be my first figure to start off my collecting hobby and remind me of why Ironhide is so cool and why Peter Cullen deserves to come back to voice him. After I got Ironhide, I started to finally get back into Transformers. My next purchase would be Gamer Edition Barricade, which was a mistake because this figure is ass. But after that, I got more and more figures over the course of a couple of years, and this led me to being interested in other aspects of the brand. Rise of the Beast was certainly an experience.
Work friends? You've been inside me.
It was the first time I had watched a Transformers movie in theaters, and though the plot isn't the best, and the Maximals don't do much, and the movie does feel like it's trying to be Michael Bay without Michael Bay, it's probably one of the more fun movies I watched. Like, I left the theater with the dumbest smile on my face. Obviously, this movie is kinda mid, unfortunately, but it did keep my love for the franchise burning bright again like when I was a kid, leading me to getting more figures and more into the toy lines and the franchise as a whole. And then in 2024, more than a year ago by the way, Transformers 1 probably gave me the best dopamine I've ever had from Transformers since Prime came out. But because Paramount's marketing team is filled with morons, the movie was marketed as a kids movie that's just Bumblebee, top 10 funny moments, when in reality it's a brilliant take on the origin of Optimus and Megatron. With incredible voice acting by the way. The later marketing was a little better, but by then it was already too late and the movie underperformed. And now they're gonna bring back Michael Bay. Oh well, I still think it's a good movie, and it probably spiked my collecting hobby even more, which I am now going to ramble about. Now, as a collector, you have to prioritize what you get and what you don't get. So unfortunately, I don't get as much as I would like because I don't have the space or money for them, but the ones I do get are special. But I do want to talk about some of the BS these lines pull. Like, for one, exclusives. The bane of most collectors' existence. These are tied to one store or online retailer and locked behind that only. And unless you live in the US where most exclusives go, you're kinda screwed. Even in the US, it's annoying because usually these things are made in a more limited quantity compared to other figures. And sometimes we have some locked behind freaking Walgreens just because they're red and white. It doesn't happen as often as it did a couple years ago, but it's still annoying. You wanna know what does still happen? Multi-packs. Oh, you want this figure that you've been hoping to see for a while? Well, too bad you have to buy 3 other figures that are all ugly repaints that no one asked for, but are the only way you can get the one figure you want. And the figures themselves, well, they're good, but though Hasbro has been on their A game as of late, sometimes because they have to make their money back, they use old molds that don't need using anymore, like this Heatwave figure. I got the Chase figure that's just a pre-tool for Cliff Jumper, but at least this figure passes off as Chase. What even is this? It's nothing but a bad bulkhead retool, a mold I actually like, and it's just barely accurate. Kind of a shame, but it's whatever. Look, you'll see videos bashing Hasbro all the time and 40-year-old collectors being negative for no reason, and you can go watch those if you want, but let's change that. Because to be more positive, I'm really liking this current line. The Legacy trilogy moved away from G1, mostly, and explored other universes and media like the animated cartoon or that manga we've all collectively sworn to vanish from existence. Age of the Primes continues that trend, but this time the main focus is the 13 Primes, hot off their appearance in Transformers 1. I've only managed to get 3 so far, but they do go pretty hard. Prima may be called plain by some, but I like to look at him as a symbol of purity. Solus has some build quality flaws, but she's still neat, and Alchemist is surprisingly fun for his size. I haven't gotten Megatronus in some of the later ones though. I have gotten some aerial bots, and I just want to talk about those real quick. So, combiners are one of my favorite concepts in Transformers. You know how Power Rangers has those Zords that combine to become one big Megazord? Yeah, that's kind of similar. Combiner teams are 5 to 6 characters, and the main 5 everyone knows are Devastator, Menasor, Superion, Bruticus, and Defensor. Actually, no one really knows Defensor. Back in the past, combiners were kind of just compromised in toy form, specifically during the Combiner Wars line. Most of the toys were just repaints of each other, also that they could be interchangeable or something. So by the time of Legacy, the designers decided to try something different with the combiners by making Menasor the start of an all-new system. Menasor in the cartoon kind of just wore the other Stunticons, so Motormaster was given a Commander class release as a skeleton frame. Now, the skeleton combiners are controversial, but I don't mind them at all. Yes, I get that they might seem like they lose the whole point of combiners, but there's reasons for the system making the individual bots stable and valuable on their own, and making it so you get a commander out of the box with a torso bot. That being said, I do think the individual bots on Menasor are a bit of a mixed bag. Not that I have them for myself, I just don't care for how some look or how they look on Menasor, at least the leg bots. But I do like what they're doing with Superion. Yeah, his frame doesn't transform into the most exciting things, but I still like how it looks, and it feels worth the price. I only have 2 aerial bots at the time of writing, Silverbow and Slingshot, and I hope I'll be able to get the rest, and also Bruticus in the future since both are my favorite combiners. If the money doesn't kill me, that is. So, could you guys maybe hype this video so more people see it and I can afford the latest plastic toy designed for children? Thanks. But yeah, combiners are always going to be controversial no matter what, in my opinion. Anyways, that's about it for my stupid rambling about toy robots. I hope you guys enjoy this one, and please do like and subscribe so I can afford what really matters in this world. Megatron is prime. Have a good one, and remember, until all are one.
I'm coming.